Welcome to the Fantasy Football Fanalist Podcast, presented by Fantasy Data. Here's your hosts, Billy Muzio and Bradley Stalder.
Welcome back, everybody. Week 10 is officially upon us. We had our brutal Thursday night football match. We're heading into the weekend here. We got final injury news and designations leading into Sunday night football that Bradley and I will be covering. We're also going to talk some OBJ as well as Cam Newton news. And then we're going to dive into our Week 10 projections here that we have on our FantasyPros Expert ranking competition. So, Bradley, how's your night going so far?
It's been great. Finished watching a movie at the theater. Clifford the Big Red Dog, throwback to my childhood. I was telling Billy that, this is one of the first times I've been to the theater in quite some time. So it was a great time to spend with the family. And we usually have like family movie night on Friday nights before the podcast. And instead, my wife was like, "Do you want to go to the movie theaters?" I was like, "Let's do it. Let's do something different. We're the fun parents still, right?" So...
Man, I'm in the movie theater in ages. Ever since they started releasing them on HBO Max and I forget the other channel we get that has the movies now too. But I've just been sitting at home. I mean, I can pause it. I can go take a piss. I can grab a beer, right? I can go grab like 10 snacks and come back and keep watching my show.
And we had to sneak popcorn in, and we had to prepare our daughters like, don't tell anyone we're bringing popcorn in if they ask. I felt like they were super secret spies, smuggling in popcorn and peanuts not peanuts. My daughter's allergic, but you get the drift.
Yes, I do. Well, let's hop into week 10 now. I'm glad you got to watch Clifford the dog. But I think everyone here wants to hear about football rankings.
We do.
Let's start off with news. So Odell Beckham signs with the Los Angeles Rams. How does this change your rankings moving forward for the Rams, the wide receiver core, the running back core, Matt Stafford? Walk me through your rankings here moving forward rest of the season for these Rams.
I was initially tempted to drop Cooper Kupp down to a mid wide receiver 1, but I'm not going to. I think that in looking at the Rams and how they're set up and what they had been working with previously, like Van Jefferson was running as the wide receiver 3. Deshaun Jackson, who asked for his release a couple weeks ago, was running as the wide receiver 4. Yeah, and granted, was running as the wide receiver 4. I know that there's a lot of excitement and there was recruitment going in. Jalen Ramsey and Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods were into recruiting Odell Beckham. I just don't think this moves the needle very much in a lot of ways. OBJ was he will command a target share. If anything, maybe this bumps down to Higbee a little bit. And Van Jefferson, I think those are the two that it affects the most. I don't think it'll severely impact Robert Woods. Woods is going to get his 20 to 22% target share. Cooper Kupp is still going to get his 30%. But that's where the rest of the distribution will go, I think, is where Odell Beckham is going to get his 20% target share. And we're not going to probably see him this week. It's unlikely. There's an outside chance that he plays, but he didn't practice today, and they do have the Monday night game. But long term, there's been talk and chatter about Odell Beckham signing a long-term deal with the Rams for next year and beyond. And I think Matthew Stafford stays about where he is. He can't really get much higher. Matt Stafford is the quarterback 3 on the season, quarterback 4 on the season. I don't see this moving the needle for the Rams in a significant way. I think if anything, this is a solid veteran depth signing, and that's the real NFL perspective. And it doesn't change much for fantasy. So I don't know if you have a different opinion on that, Billy, but I'm not super.
I think the offense is funneled through Cooper Kupp as long as he's healthy, and I don't think that's going to change with the signing of Odell Beckham. I could see this affecting Bob Woods a little bit more. Maybe he doesn't get that 22% target share. Maybe he sees more like 19%, right? But and we're splitting hairs here. But if anything, I think that we're just going to see more efficiencies out of this offense, and we're going to have, I saw it was a great tweet today. It was 4 targets from Matt Stafford is like 8 from Baker Mayfield, and I think that as much as we laugh about it, it's true, right? And you take it and you think about it. We're going to have more accurate passes. We're going to have some passes down the field more. We're going to have more to draw the defense away. We have, the defense to be focused on Cooper Kupp. They're going to be, more concerned about Bob Woods. There's going to be a lot of different factors that these defenses have to manage and look at on a week-to-week basis. So, OBJ is now going to be facing the cornerback 2, the cornerback 3 on these defenses, which allows him to, face lesser than stellar talent at times, and he's going to be able to get more open. So I definitely gives, a bump up an Odell in my rest of season rankings. I definitely would say Bob Woods takes a slight tick down for me. Van Jefferson is gone, right? Sorry, it's no longer Van Jefferson season, right? For all of those that were, leaping for joy when they saw what's his face get released. So I think that Deshaun Jackson. So I think that overall this offense, I think gets a slight bump, but I'm not bumping, much around if just minor tweaks, I think in my rankings moving forward outside Van Jefferson. I think Higbee kind of stays where he's been. I think he's got a pretty steady role. I don't think that Odell Beckham will really affect that. So we'll see what happens with the running game though. It might open up more lanes for these running backs with more threats downfield. So I think it's a good signing for the Rams. It sucks for my Niners and in the division. It just got tougher, but I think overall it's a good signing for them as long as he can stay kind of toxic free in this new environment. That's a big if though, seeing what he's been doing these last couple weeks. So it's been the clown show. It's like Odell versus Antonio Brown 2021. Like who was worse?
Don't even go there. Antonio Brown had frozen toes.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things. Like you have to watch it, right? Is he going to react when he?
I think OBJ is full diva. Like we saw that happen with Michael Thomas. We saw that with Antonio Brown. We've seen that in the past with Randy Moss and Terrell Owens. We've seen these diva wide receivers just not get their way. And now Odell Beckham he's not a young pup anymore. He's 28, 29 years old. He's in prime production, but for fantasy purposes and especially in dynasty, he's way past his prime. There's no way you're getting a wide receiver 1 season out of him, even in the future, like this nebulous future. Those days are long gone. Oh man.
So before we move on to Cam Newton here, we have a question. Mm-hmm. Does the NFL have to rule? Does the NFL have a rule stating that a team must announce a starting quarterback for that week by Friday? Why did Peyton announce that Trevor Siemian was going to start Sunday? Why not keep it a secret until game time? It's a very simple answer. The answer is no. And the reason behind it is because Sean Payton is an attention whore and he loves attention. And if the spotlight is not on him, then he creates a spotlight. And that's what he did.
Billy is right with the first part. He's correct in saying that there is not a rule that they need to name a starter. They do need to have a final list of 53 an hour and a half before game time. But usually it's it's for game planning purposes. It's for media purposes. It's for satisfying all the questions. He just doesn't want to keep answering the same stupid question over and over again. And it's also, how things are trending, frankly, in practice. And it seems like Trevor Siemian in practice seems to be just holding the spot. Taysom Hill, they've said that he's going to be involved in some packages. And that's what we saw week 1 back for Taysom Hill. So yes, Billy, Sean Payton does like his attention. I don't think he's as much of a diva as Michael Thomas, although maybe that's up for debate. Michael Thomas can tweet us if he thinks differently, but yeah, Trevor Siemian's not startable in one quarterback leagues for fantasy purposes. So don't worry about him, nor Taysom Hill for that matter.
I mean, he threw for 2 touchdowns and like 246 yards last week. I think he's startable in some leagues if you're desperate and there's people out there with holding 2 quarterbacks.
I mean, 2 quarterback leagues, want to throw them in your super flex. I get desperate times call for Trevor Siemian, but here we go.
Yeah, it's not pretty, but you may have to in some areas. All right. Next news, Cam Newton re-signs with the Panthers. Does this excite you at all, Bradley?
It excites me in a way that it's a nice story. I think that, it's interesting to think about how the Panthers are paying for Cam's replacement and Cam's replacement of his replacement and paying Cam to be his own replacement. I think that this is just hilarious. The way the Panthers have just botched quarterback over the last 2 years. Teddy Bridgewater, I love Teddy Bridgewater as a player, but he was not the long-term answer for the Panthers, and they should have known that. And then Sam Darnold, I was preaching at the beginning, oh, Sam Darnold, he's just not good. I don't see. And then I was looking like I was dead wrong. He was leading the NFL in rushing touchdowns, right? And
it's unsustainable.
Then he cradled back to earth, just like we saw in New York, where he was seeing ghosts. Billy, Cam Newton was signed for starter money.
Yep.
The anticipation is that Cam is going to stay with the Panthers. The Panthers overlooked Justin Fields in the draft. Let's remind our listeners and our viewers, they overlooked Justin Fields, and over the last couple
Mac Jones.
Overlooked Mac Jones, and both Fields and Jones have looked good over the last couple weeks. Fields is on a bye. Billy got me on that Tuesday's pod, but when it comes to the Panthers, there's so many positive things happening with the Panthers, but they just can't get quarterback right. And maybe it's coming back to Cam Newton, who, if you remember, yes, he had a terrible 2021. Let's not beat around the bush, but he was throwing to like second and third string players. And he had gotten COVID, and we talk about the COVID cloud, and I get it. Like it affects you in ways that you hadn't thought. But like we saw Cam Newton at the beginning of the year, and he was efficient. He was running the ball well, and he was one of the league leaders for quarterbacks in rushing touchdowns. This is a dynamic that he brings to the table that almost no other quarterback can realistically do. What, Josh Allen, runs with as much power as Cam Newton. So I think that for fantasy purposes, Cam's ceiling is still a back-end quarterback one if he starts.
What do you think it does for the passing game? Are you taking DJ Moore down,
better.
up?
I think it's
Christian
better
McCaffrey?
than the last 4 weeks. Oh,
what do you do?
If there's anyone who's comfortable throwing dump-off passes to Christian McCaffrey, it's Cam Newton.
If you're a Christian McCaffrey owner, are you concerned with red zone usage now with Cam Newton in there who can sneak in a 2 or 3 yard touchdown?
No, because the offense will be better. I think the offense will be more efficient than what Sam Darnold was doing. And Christian McCaffrey, if anything, it saves Christian McCaffrey a little bit, because Cam takes the hits here and there. The dump off passing game is an extension of the running game, and Christian McCaffrey works better in space anyways. So forcing him to be a between the tackles runner is not how he was becoming the overall running back one. It was through the passing game. Let's not hurt like McCaffrey's running stats. He's a very good runner, but that's what brought him into that elite tier. And I think Cam Newton still I would be buying low on Cam Newton still. I would put out big waiver claims if you got a 2 quarterback league. I think he has upside that you're not going to find except maybe Taysom Hill or Trey Lance if he starts.
So Christian McCaffrey's best years were 2018 and 2019. Okay. Yes, they're the only two years that he played all 16 games, but both years were with Cam Newton. So take that for what it's worth. That being said, though, I think that they're going to be comfortable together. They've played with each other. The chemistry will be there together. DJ Moore, I think, will have that chemistry as well. So I think that those will be the beneficiaries of Cam Newton coming in. You look at somebody like Robbie Anderson, and you have to have, it can't be much worse than where it was, right? Robbie Anderson has kind of been at floor Robbie Anderson, nowhere near where people drafted him in drafts. So you have to think that the ceiling's only pointing up for Robbie Anderson moving forward. But my main question is, what does this do for a player like Terrace Marshall? And are we going to see him take the next step forward with a new quarterback with Cam Newton. I mean, we both loved his talent coming into the year, and I have to think that this is going to benefit Terrace Marshall as well. Bradley, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think all the entire passing game, Terrace Marshall, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. I don't know if I go so far as to say Tommy Tremble, but the entire passing game is elevated here. Let's look at 2021. In 9 games for Sam Darnold, he has a 59.5% completion percentage, 6.5 yards per attempt. Compare that to Cam Newton last year. Cam Newton, 65.8% completion percentage, 7.2 yards per attempt. Like, this is a significant step up. We're passing at a higher clip, a better completion percentage, and yards per attempt, a higher yards. So I want Cam Newton in this offense. I think it's a significant improvement. If you like, Cam Newton has poised himself to be a possible league winner in 2 quarterback or super flex leagues for you if you were able to get him cheaper off waivers. That's where I see Cam Newton right now.
Okay, fair enough. Well, let's breeze through these injury updates for Week 10. Go through final injury designations leading into the weekend, and then we'll hop in to our rankings here. So, without further ado,
Hurt and Alert segment. Hurt and Alert. Injury news and updates.
All right, let's kick it off. We talked about how Cam Newton had signed with the Panthers, or re-signed with the Panthers. Sam Darnold was placed on IR in a corresponding move. He's going to be out at least 3 weeks, but it's sounding like a 5-week plus injury. And as we mentioned before, Cam Newton signed for starter money. So we'll see what happens, but it looks like the Cam Newton show moving forward. For running backs, Nick Chubb was ruled out due to the COVID protocols. He tested positive earlier in the week. Dearness Johnson looks to be getting the start. Where do you have? I know we're already getting into rankings a little bit, but how high is too high for Dearness Johnson?
I've been kind of meddling between 10 and 12 right now. I don't think I can put him much higher just because New England's defense is pretty good. They'll probably be able to just load the box a little bit more. They're not going to have as much of a run game. Baker has been struggling. I just think, Dearness looked good in his start without Chubb. But I just think that New England's a better defense. So we'll have a hard time placing him any higher than 10, but I think it's going to settle around 10 to 12.
Alvin Kamara ruled out with a leg injury. The only other running back of note in this backfield is Mark Ingram, whom the Saints recently traded for. What kind of confidence do we have in Mark Ingram? He was a running back 1 for a lot of his career earlier with New Orleans. We're talking about a lot of reunions today. New Orleans with Mark Ingram, Cam Newton with the Panthers. But, how high can Mark Ingram go now that he's the back?
It sounds gross, but I have Mark Ingram at running back 11 this week.
So like higher or lower than Dearness Johnson?
Those two are neck and neck. So
Okay.
I'm going to look at weather later tonight, both games. I'm gonna look at offensive line versus defensive lines tonight. This is Saturday night to Sunday morning is where I finalize my rankings, and I don't finalize until like Sunday, like 9:58, like honestly, like right before kickoff. And I'm just going through everything. I'm looking at offensive line health. I'm looking at defensive line health. I'm looking at matchups individually on that side of the ball. And I'm making my final decisions there. And I think that that'll be the ultimate decision between these two. But as of right now, I think Tennessee versus New Orleans will be a higher scoring game than Cleveland versus New England. Hence why I have Mark Ingram ahead of Dearness Johnson right now.
All right. Chase Edmonds ruled out. This wasn't surprising as well. He has a high ankle sprain. James Conner lit it up last week, but Eno Benjamin got 9 carries. We talked about Eno Benjamin on the waiver wire show on Tuesday. I have a lot of confidence in James Conner. I have been a James Conner truther since the offseason in this Arizona offense. I think this is his job, but I think we can anticipate that it's gonna be James and Eno sharing this backfield.
Yeah, he had like the widest range of fab that I've seen all year. It was like I saw him go in some leagues for like $7 on FFPC waivers, and then I saw him in others go for like $390. And so it just was all over the place. It's based upon need, of course, but I think Eno will have some involvement, but after the performance that James Conner put up last week, finishing as the RB1 on the week, I think it would be hard not to give him anywhere near that type of volume again. I know the concern with James Conner is his body and holding up to that amount of volume. But Arizona right now is, playing without DeAndre Hopkins again, most likely playing again, possibly without Kyler Murray. So what they're going to lean heavily on the run game again. I think that James Conner is a beneficiary. I have him right now as running back 9 for week 10.
Jamaal Williams ruled out for the Detroit Lions. Last time that he was ruled out, DeAndre Swift recorded just 51 yards on 17 touches against Philadelphia in a blowout loss. It really hurt because I had DeAndre Swift ranked very high that week. Is there a lot of optimism about Swift bouncing back from that bad performance given Jamaal Williams' absence?
Oh, man, Steelers are a tough run defense. They've given up the 3rd least fantasy points to the running back position. Only Buffalo and Arizona have been tougher against the run. So I think that I think Swift is going to have a hard time this week. It's going to have to be through the air than on the ground,
which is where he makes his money.
But I just don't have a lot of faith in this offense. Like you can't rely on that, right? I've been kind of tweaking my rankings with him and fiddling with him probably one of the most of this top here. I had him as high as 10 to start the week and have moved him down to 13 as of right now. But so in that range is where I'll finalize him probably. I just don't see him going much higher, and I can't really argue to put him much lower than 13 either. Like I just don't see somebody like, Josh Jacobs passing him because of the half-point PPR that we're ranking on Fantasy Pros. And, we're probably going to see him with, as the second most receptions on the team, probably behind TJ Hawkinson again is my assumption. And it's tough to, down rank that just simply because of his lack of rushing ability versus the Steelers.
As for the wide receivers, Antonio Brown for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers ruled out yet again. At least Antonio Brown has shed the boot, but Chris Godwin is also very questionable, got some work in. I think the lack of weapon, Gronk was ruled out as well. This Tampa Bay offense.
Tyler Johnson season, baby.
Scotty Miller might be activated for this game. We will see if he is in fact activated off of IR. Scotty Miller, the speedster, who burned and tore apart my poor Packer heart in the NFC Championship game last year. Nevertheless, I think this has to slightly downgrade Tom Brady, losing Gronk and Brown and possibly losing Godwin.
Every time we discount Brady, he throws 4 touchdowns.
I know, but maybe
I'm
one
not
of
even
these
gonna
times
speak
I'll be right. One of these times I'll be right. Yeah,
no, it just means that Evans is going to catch 3 is what that means. I mean, it's all it is. I mean, really, I like looking at my Evans rankings. Let me switch to wide receivers here. Like I moved Evans up to wide receiver 4 this week. I mean, Washington's secondary has been trash. We have, like you said, Godwin, AB, Gronk. Like I'd be surprised if Godwin plays, honestly. Like they're saying that foot is it's worse than people are expecting right now. And I could see them just resting him and throwing out, Evans and Tyler Johnson and, using Brait and OJ Howard and 12 personnel, running the ball more, and then just peppering Evans with targets. So that's how I have it played out right now in my rankings. I think that
Tom Brady over under 297.5 passing yards. That's on Prize Picks.
Ooh, that's a good line. I don't like that. I don't like that line.
I don't like it either. I would take the under. That's what I'm talking about.
I'd probably take the under, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 270, 280, with 2 or 3 touchdowns, right?
Sure.
And honestly, like this is a game where Mike Evans, Mike Evans probably gets 2 touchdowns. If it's going to
He's
happen,
the goal line wide receiver. So
it is going to be possibly the only trusted wide receiver on the field this week as well. So, yeah, I agree with Wheeler here. Fournette and Evans and DFS is just going to be a beautiful combination. So, feel free to stack it.
And another wide receiver worth mentioning, Chase Claypool for the Steelers. He's out with a toe injury. At least it wasn't season ending, but it's going to be Deontay Johnson moving forward.
And James Washington.
And Pat Freiermuth, baby.
The Muth is looking pretty good. Like his hands, he's got good hands for that. And he just always seems to be in the right place. Like, and Big Ben loves big tight ends. So
Can I tell you a story for a second?
Yeah, go for it.
Do you remember when we were at in Akron, in Canton, for the Hall of Fame? We were checking out.
I called it Akron.
Akron. So I was checking out. I was getting things for the family at the fantasy football conference, and I was the expo. And I was checking out, and there was a guy next to me, and he was just chatting it up with one of the cashiers. And he's like, "My boy played with the best tight end in this class." And I'm thinking to myself, he played with Kyle Pitts. And he's like, "There's this kid named Pat Freiermuth drafted by the Steelers, and he's the best tight end in the class." And I felt like, he's blowing smoke. Like, I had done my research on Kyle Pitts. Like, this guy is a unicorn, but like, he spoke with such conviction that I was like, maybe I need to get a little bit more Pat Freiermuth on my dynasty leagues, just because he was talking him up more than, what the film was showing me and what the stats were showing me from college. And when there's fan hype attached to all that, and not there are people who've seen Pat Freiermuth play from a very young age, and he's really come into his own. He's overtaken the tight end 1 position pretty firmly, and seems to be a staple now for a long time. So hats off to you if you were able to get Pat Freiermuth in your dynasty drafts.
I own him in quite a few of our dynasty drafts. I remember there was a trade I was making while on the clock, and I was going to trade down. And then I looked at that dynasty team and I was like, ew, I got Ebron. I was like, I'm going to grab Freiermuth here and just handcuff my tight end position and also get the young tight end moving forward. And the reason why I also like Freiermuth moving forward is Big Ben's probably on his last dance, right? And we have rookie and inexperienced quarterbacks on the way here for Pittsburgh. And what happens with inexperienced and rookie quarterbacks? Who do they tend to favor?
The running backs and tight ends.
Correct. And so moving forward, I think Freiermuth is going to see a bump in targets, especially with Ben gone. Right now with de facto, you have, injuries to the wide receiver core. He's going to see a bump as well. But, in dynasty shares, I think that he's going to get some sort of benefit from, an inexperienced quarterback at play moving forward.
All right, Billy, I've got a question for you. Do you know a worse medical training staff than the Washington football team? The 49ers is a close second.
Yeah, no, that's strength and conditioning. That's different. Yeah, I'd say Washington is probably the worst, if not.
Because Curtis Samuel just can't get healthy.
Nobody can get healthy there.
Like Logan Thomas, Curtis Samuel. These are players who just have like groin and hamstring injuries. Like, they need to figure out why they paid these guys so much money. Thomas, an extension. Samuel signed a long-term deal in the offseason. So yeah, Washington needs to look themselves in the mirror and say, like, what's going on? Because Samuel's missing this game. Logan Thomas is missing
Washington has so many more problems. I don't think they have to worry about like their training staff right now. They have legal issues. There's just a whole.
They don't even have a real name yet.
No, exactly. They can't. They don't even identify as anyone yet.
Okay, and obviously Thomas and Samuel won't play. Mims is out due to the COVID protocol. Zach Wilson probably won't play. It was Mike White declared the starter yet again.
That kid's good.
He is. He's played very well.
Like, if he keeps playing the way he's playing, I don't understand how the Jets are going to go back to Wilson. I mean, I understand you just spent the second overall pick on him, but I mean, White, before he hurt his hand/arm, whatever that wrist thing, whatever that injury was last week, was kind of fluky, right?
It was a forearm injury. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever it was. Like he was like 8 for like 11 for like 96 yards and a touchdown on that
He was
drive.
confidently getting the ball down the field. He looked good.
He threw for 400 yards on his first start. Like this kid is surprising me. And I messaged him joking around on Twitter saying that, Zach Wilson lost his job and then he continued, and then Johnson came in and threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. And it just seems like the Jets are better with anybody outside Wilson, but Mike White, I think the kid looks good. I like him.
Well, White keeps defenses honest because they don't know which read he's going to go to. Is he going to dump it off? Is he going to take intermediate? Is he going to take long shots? With Zach Wilson, the narrative that we had heard over the offseason was Wilson is willing to take shots down the field. He's willing to take risks. He's a gunslinger. And that's all fine and good, except for the fact that you don't have the personnel to do that. Yeah. You've got young running back Michael Carter. You've got a couple old vets and Tevin Coleman, and you've got some okay-ish tight ends, Croft and Griffith, but like Jameson Crowder and Elijah Moore, those are like slot type wide receivers. Denzel Mims was bumped down to the 5th. Like you don't have the personnel to make it happen. So with Mike White, it makes sense. He's willing to go through his reads. He's willing to look defenses off, and that's what's making him successful.
Yeah, you seem to see these rookie quarterbacks who always try to hit the home run, right? That have been failing when
they want to be the Patrick Mahomes,
Yeah, when it's okay to come in and be, the Brady, right? And just little 15-yard outs or 10 yards, 7 yards a pop, whatever it is, right? Moving the ball down the field and consistently moving the chains. And that's what Mike White was doing. Like he looked composed. Like I think he looks pretty damn good.
Questionable this week and probably not likely to play Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Looks like another Darrell Williams and Derek Gore sprinkled in a little bit, but Darrell Williams will probably get the start. Mohammed Sanu, he's still playing for the San Francisco 49ers, right, Billy?
Yes.
He's doubtful for them and their wide receiver core. Aaron Rodgers has not yet been activated from the COVID protocol. He's questionable, but he does not need a negative test at this point. So yeah,
he's playing. He'll be activated.
We'll see. Russell Wilson was activated, so he will play against Green Bay. Kyler Murray is going to be a game time decision. So I think there's a wide range of, Colt McCoy looked good enough. He's a usable back end quarterback too, if Kyler's out, but nothing more. Elijah Mitchell is still struggling through a ribs injury, Billy. But if he's out there, he's a running back too, right?
I think back in running back 1, he started seeing passing down work last week. So he actually out targeted Hasty. He out caught Hasty.
And Hasty's out this week.
Yep. And I think so. I think that you can continue to see more work from Mitchell. The fact that he even got receiving work last week with Hasty on the field was a promising sign. So I think that I think the arrow's pointing up for Mitchell, and I think that it's going to be a fine play. So I'm going to say back in RB1.
James Robinson is questionable as well. He's still dealing with that heel injury. Carlos Hyde had 16, 18 inefficient rushes against Buffalo last week. If James Robinson doesn't go, that's going to be the same recipe as a lot of Carlos Hyde and not a lot of fantasy points coming from it. Damien Harris and Rhamondre Stevenson both dealing with concussions. It seems as though Stevenson at least has a chance to play, but this is a situation worth monitoring. Brandon Bolden, JJ Taylor may get some work if both can't go.
It's another nightmare situation in New England. Never trust them.
Zack Moss is questionable. He, I believe, is dealing with a concussion as well. It would be more Devin Singletary, but still the Bills don't run a ton.
He shed the non-contact jersey today, so that's a promising sign. So I would say it is a possibility he plays after shedding that contract jersey, but he hasn't cleared the concussion protocol as of yet.
Chris Carson was activated off of IR. However, he will not be going this Sunday against Green Bay. It's going to be Alex Collins. And Alex Collins, if this Seattle offense is humming, Collins is going to be a part of it. They're going to ride him. I have not seen anything to impress me with regard to Rashad Penny. He's been a disappointment.
God, the whole running back committee has been a disappointment. It's just complete avoid. Like even with I don't think there's no I was surprised that Carson was even activated. Quite frankly, I thought he was going to miss the rest of the season with a neck injury. There's no way he plays this Sunday. But if I would say next week he might have a chance. But even then, it's not you're not going to be able to trust anyone in this backfield.
Coach Staley for the Chargers came out and said Keenan Allen is going to play for them. Chris Godwin, we mentioned earlier, is most likely not going to play. DeAndre Hopkins missed last game with a hamstring injury. He's still a game time decision. Penny ain't worth a dime.
Penny ain't worth a penny.
Oh, ooh, Billy spitting facts on the pod tonight. DeAndre Hopkins missed with the hamstring injury. He probably won't play. Like if I'm a betting man, I'll probably bet he won't play again this week. Rondale Moore is dealing with a concussion, I believe, as well. So, that's a situation worth monitoring. He's questionable. Julio Jones is questionable. He's missed games on and off this year. So even if he plays, I don't have a lot of confidence in throwing Julio Jones in. It's been A.J. Brown the last few weeks. So he's the only receiver you really want in Tennessee, especially given that Josh Reynolds, my offseason fawning over Josh Reynolds. He was cut. He asked for his release and has since signed with the Detroit Lions, where he pegs to be the number one wide receiver on the team.
Man, Julio fell to me at like 6.03 in an FFPC main event draft, and I was like super excited about it. He was going in like the 4th/5th round. I was like, man, he fell all the way to me in 6, and I passed on him in the 5th because I think I was able to get. I think someone else failed me. It was like a crazy draft, and it was like that draft was just full of traps. Like I got Kyle Pitts in the 4th. Like it was just all these things that were looking so beautiful. Just looking back on it now, it's like, geez, I fell for the Julio trap. And I don't own a lot of Julio. I was just concerned with injuries and his age and changing teams and the whole shebang going into this year. But 6th round, I mean, come on, you pull the trigger, right? And it's still, now it's not even worth it. Not even close. Like he's been just injured and horrible. Even when he's on the field, he's been bad.
Yeah, well, your boy Corey Davis is dealing with a hip injury. He's questionable, but is expected to play.
No, he's no longer my boy. I've parted ways.
Oh, this is a new development.
It was a tough break.
Where's your sad music here, Billy? We need the.
It was finalized. It was finalized when he went to the Jets. It was like, I can't do it anymore.
You had him elevated by the Pope. Okay, let's get New York to replay. Get the rewind here. Pull out the archives here. Cedrick Wilson's questionable. Dwayne Eskridge was activated off of IR for Seattle. He might be an interesting wide receiver 3-4 desperation play. He had a lot of speed coming out of college.
No, he's irrelevant. Keep going.
Western Central Michigan. George Kittle. He's going to play. He had a big game last week and should have a big game this week. Jonnu Smith is questionable. He's been mostly the blocking tight end for the Patriots, though, so it's Hunter Henry you want.
Them signing him was questionable.
And then Albert Okwuegbunam.
It's just he's A-okay.
He's come on, give the man at least some love here. Nevertheless, yeah, so I think that Kittle, Smith, Albert O, all questionable, but we expect Kittle to play, Albert O to play. We'll see about Jonnu Smith. Okay, Billy, right. It's time for rankings.
Rankings time.
Top 10 ranking segment. Billy and Bradley's top 10 ranked positional players.
All right, I'll run through. Let's go through running backs first because no one really cares about quarterbacks.
Yeah, they want to hear your number one running back here, Billy.
I have Najee number 1 this week.
Ooh.
I don't remember where he was on ECR. I think I moved him up 2 or 3. It
Najee
was
is 3, I think.
So yeah, I moved him up 2. We have, the only trusted receiver here is Deontay Johnson. James Washington steps into the wide receiver 2 role. We saw, I think it was what week was that? Week 3, where he had 19 target game. I don't think he's going to see that type of volume, but I would not be surprised to see like an 8 to 9 target game here for Najee. Detroit is also ranked as the second worst against the running back position in fantasy points. So they've given up 193 fantasy points on the season so far to running backs. So Najee, I think, is in for a big workload heading into week 10. Number 2, Jonathan Taylor. This was the one I had at 1, but I just think that situational. I think Najee takes just a slight edge above JT this week. Jacksonville gives up, quite a bit on the ground. JT's just been phenomenal. It's hard to rank him here at 2, but I wasn't able to put him much lower. Dalvin Cook at 3. Chargers are just, they're so bad. The Chargers are the third, giving up the third most fantasy points to the running back position across the NFL, and I don't think that's changing this week against Dalvin Cook. Christian McCaffrey, I have at 4. Arizona is actually pretty tough against the run. Second best defense versus the run in the NFL right now. Christian McCaffrey, still a stud, but I still think that this offense with Walker back there is going to be a little struggling this week against Arizona. Austin Eckler, I have at 5 against Minnesota. He's kind of always in my 3 to 5 range in my rankings. Aaron Jones, I have at 6 this week against Seattle. Zeke, I have at 7 versus Atlanta. Cordell Patterson at 8 against Dallas. James Conner, 9 versus Carolina. And then Darrell Henderson, 10 versus SF. And just outside 10, 11, Mark Ingram.
All right. I think it's a get-right game for Christian McCaffrey. He's my number 1 running back. Arizona's defense be damned. Look, we've all wanted it. We need it. It's Christian McCaffrey who's going to come out on top. He's going to prove why you were drafting him as the 1.01 yet again. Don't worry about the injuries. He was worked back in a part-time role last week. He's full go right now against Arizona. Number 2, I agree with you, Jonathan Taylor against Jacksonville. There's not a hotter running back right now than Jonathan Taylor. Number 3, Dalvin Cook. You talked about how the Chargers are really bad against the run, and I think the offense is going to be better against the Chargers this week. There was talk about how Justin Jefferson was not target. He's got 9 targets over the last 2 weeks, and the OC was like, we can't win like that. We can't be getting Justin Jefferson only those amount of. So I think the offense is going to get better, even if it's passing more to the elite players. Good, get the ball to the elite players. Dalvin Cook is elite. Najee Harris is at 4 for me against Detroit. He's still a top 4 play. I think,
too low, Bradley, too low.
I might be too low on Najee, but I don't think this is the week where he's the number 1 overall. I think that they would, if they ever got to a blowout scenario like Philadelphia did with Detroit a couple weeks ago, I think they would throw Kalen Ballage or throw whoever is the backup there. I don't even know who
they don't even know because Najee runs 96% of the snaps.
Yeah, I think in a blowout they would not risk their first round draft pick. Austin Eckler for me is at 5 against Minnesota. I think it's a bounce get right game. This should be a great matchup. I want pieces of this game. Ezekiel Elliott against Atlanta at 6. Cordell Patterson at 7. Against Dallas. Darrell Henderson at 8 against San Francisco. Leonard Fournette at 9. Got to put money where my mouth is. Leonard Fournette in the top 10. But here's my kicker for right now. He's number 10. I want to bring attention to him. I might downgrade him a little bit. When it comes to Sunday.
I know you're going to say D'Ernest Johnson.
No.
Oh, wow. Surprised me.
J.D. McKissick.
Oh, get out of here.
J.D. McKissick, 10th against Tampa Bay's run. They're not Washington. No, stop it. Stop it. It's not going to be an Antonio Gibson day. It's
not going to be a J.D. McKissic day.
No, it is, because J.D. McKissic is going to be catching 8-10 passes out of the backfield, and there's going to be a lot of garbage time. If we're predicting how the game script is going to be,
somebody grab a drug test for Bradley, please.
No, listen. J.D. McKissic has this type of even half PPR upside when the game there. We anticipate Washington's going to get down deep. That removes Antonio Gibson. Gibson's already struggling with injuries. We see how between the tackles, the Tampa Bay defense is really tough against those types of running backs, but it's the pass catching running backs that get little more room. And so, it's still Taylor Heinicke behind center.
Okay, I think real quick, Bradley.
Yeah.
J.D. McKissic has only had one top 10 finish all year. And it was that against the Giants, we had that like 40-yard catch down the sideline and dove in the end zone. Okay. Take the touchdown away, and he's outside the top 20. Week 1, running back 7. Let me get to half PPR. Sorry. So week 1, running back 77. Week 2, he went up one spot. He's running back 7. Week 3, running back 46. Week 4, 18. Week 5, 71. Then 17th. Then 30th. 21st. That's a big jump for a player who's not really involved, in my opinion, like on a snap share basis. I understand Gibson's not right, but I think even if they are passing, it's going to be hard for him to rank ahead of players like, everyone we just mentioned, ahead of Darrell Henderson, ahead of James Conner, ahead of even, Elijah Mitchell, for crying out loud, right? Ahead of players like Darrell Williams against Las Vegas. Like I think it's spicy, but I don't like it.
Look, if there's going to be a matchup that you take a shot on J.D. McKissic, it has to be this one.
Yeah, 20's, I think, reasonable, right? I think to me, it's a stretch. Like I think I have him. Where do I have McKissic right now? I have
Expert consensus was about 30.
Yeah, I have him at 29 right now. I have him one above consensus. Ooh, 10.
Which would put me about, we'll see. But I'm calling a J.D. McKissic game. Here you go.
If it hits, you'll probably be ranked number 1 running back rankings for the week.
Look, you got to take your shot somewhere. All right, Billy, talk to us about wide receivers.
All right, let me get to wide receivers here. I have, I'm not moving Cooper Kupp outside 1. Just that's a lock. Just lock it weekly. Devontae Adams right now at 2. If Rodgers isn't activated off the COVID list, that's going to change. I have Tyreek at 3 right now. Mike Evans, I already mentioned at 4 earlier, and the reasons why. AJ Brown, I have at 5. And I think if Adams is out, I think everyone just moves up one spot. I think Tyreek goes to 2, Evans goes to 3, Brown goes to 4. And then I have Stephon Diggs at 6 versus the Jets. Deontay Johnson at 7 versus Detroit. Again, this is going to break down to just target share. Necessity, right? We have James Washington's operating as the wide receiver 2. Claypool's injured. I'm surprised he hasn't gone to IR, quite frankly. So I think that Deontay Johnson is going to be heavily involved. Justin Jefferson, I have at 8, not finalized. He might be moved down to 10 for me. Pittman's just been an animal lately, and I have Pittman at 9. So I kind of going back and forth with those two. And then with DK Metcalf, with Russell Wilson not being activated, he might be moving up my rankings, but currently at number 10 as well.
Okay. Billy, Cooper Kupp at 1, Devontae Adams 2, Tyreek Hill at 3, AJ Brown at 4, Mike Evans at 5. So that's where we start to see a little differentiation here.
Yep.
For me, Justin Jefferson 6. I think that they are going to get him more involved. DK Metcalf at 7, Michael Pittman at 8 against Jacksonville. Deontay Johnson at 9, so he cracks my top 10. Terry McLaurin at 10, but then I'll give you a bonus. I think Tyler Lockett gets there to 11 with Russ back.
Ooh, okay. I got Lockett right now at 16, so that's not too far off.
I moved Diggs down to 14.
Yeah, Diggs, I've been playing with him a little bit. I don't know where he'll finalize. I think he will stay within my top 10.
Okay.
But I could see him moving down my rankings.
No Debo in there?
No, I got Debo moved down a little bit. I mean, he was removed off the injury report, but
yeah,
the Rams are just tough. So he's going to see some Ramsey, right? I just think I think he's going to.
You don't think they're going to
shadowing
put Ayuk, him on Ayuk?
Ramsey,
or Kittle?
No, I think we're going to see him on Debo. Not a full shadow, but I could see him on him, quite a bit. So I have him right now at Debo's right now at wide receiver 15, but I'll tweak that as well. Again, these are not finalized rankings. Let's move on to tight ends. Again, not getting cute. So Travis Kelce 1, Darren Waller's 2. George Kittle 3. I had Andrews at 4. I had Kyle Pitts at 5. So Andrews will probably finish honestly the top 2 after some garbage time last night. Yeah, last night was Thursday. And then Kyle Pitts at 5. This one hurt. I had Gesicki at 6. And he had 7 targets and 0 catches. 7
targets, no catches. The process was right.
so that one hurts. That definitely.
And he had 2 end zone targets too. It was just
it just didn't happen. So sometimes process over results. That's what I always say. Just continue with the process. So it just didn't play out the way it should have this week. So outside the 6 now, TJ Hawkinson I have at 7. Dallas Goedert at 8. Dalton Schultz at 9. And then this is where it gets spicy, Bradley. Pat Freiermuth at 10.
Oh, you think that's spicy?
Would you have him at like 5?
No, because I had Gesicki at 5. But Kelce at 1, Waller at 2. I had Andrews at 3, so that looks better than it could have been. Kittle at 4. Gesicki at 5. Freiermuth at 6.
The Muth.
Ooh, the Muth is Luth. Hawkinson at 7. Noah Fant at 8. Goddard at 9. Dalton Schultz at 10. Kyle Pitts outside the top 10.
I like it, Bradley. I've been thinking about moving Freiermuth up. He finished as tight end number 1 last week. In week 8, he was tight end number 2.
Yep. Maybe we're too low on the Luth.
Yeah, he's been a beast. All right, we'll go to quarterbacks, I guess. Quarterbacks, the last one here. Josh Allen for me.
He just didn't want to talk about Lamar Jackson.
Hey, I moved him down. I'm fine with it. I was down.
Okay, I don't want to talk about Lamar Jackson.
Josh Allen, I moved up to 1. Tom Brady, I'm going to be moving. I don't know why he's at 2 right now. So Dak Prescott for me goes to 2. I must have misclicked that. Lamar Jackson's at 3. Tom Brady's at 4. Patrick Mahomes at 5. Matt Stafford at 6. Justin Herbert at 7. Russell Wilson at 8. Aaron Rodgers at 9. That's assuming that Rodgers plays. And then I have Jalen Hurts at 10.
Okay. I had Lamar Jackson number 1. That does not look good. But Josh Allen at 2. Dak Prescott at 3. Tom Brady at 4. Stafford at 5. Jalen Hurts at 6. Justin Herbert 7th. Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson 8 and 9. Carson Wentz at 10. I have Mahomes outside my top 10.
He's been horrible. I keep putting him in my top 10.
And they're playing the Las Vegas Raiders, who have a really good pass rush.
And they've always played him kind of tough. Yeah, that offense, that team's falling apart.
At Las Vegas, so
that team though, I think. So if Kyler Murray's active, where are you moving him?
If he's active, he needs to be in the top 10, I think. But I don't feel good about it.
Yeah, I'd probably put him at 8 and hedge my bets.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel good about starting Kyler. If I have a better streaming, like I would play Carson Wentz, I think, over Kyler Murray in this 1 week matchup.
Okay, that's fair enough. And Wheeler had Lamar at QB too. Ha, beat you both.
Ouch.
All right, everybody. That is a wrap on our Friday pod, week 10. If you have any start-sit questions, feel free to shoot those over to Bradley and I. We'd be happy to answer those. You can also find our rankings at fantasypros.com. I have it inside the notes for the the YouTube show. So you can just click on that and take you right over to the Fantasy Pros link. So take a look there as well. Make sure to visit all of our work over at fantasydata.com. And you can use code FFF20 for 20% off all fantasy data subscriptions. Gives you access to all sorts of cool tools, information like snap counts, red zone usage. And, most of these sites that you are using are being, supported and powered by our API. So make sure to head on over to fantasydata.com and to take advantage of that promo code for 20% off your subscription. Thanks for tuning in. And we will see you all back here. Wheeler said it. Smash the like button. Thank you, Wheeler. Smash the like button. We'll see you all back here too.